So continuing on from laying on your side, we're now going to come into this position, which is a DNS position. We're going to lift our head in line with our spine, press into your shoulder, press into the hip to create that active stability. And we're going to transition. We're going to just do a little bit of rolling. So you're going to turn your head and feel the stretch through the back of the shoulder and through the back of the hip. You can place this hand here and it gives it a little more, because we're going to transition now into lower oblique sit. So let's transition from lower oblique sit back down to side lying. Side lying to lower oblique sit. Now the base of stability is on the elbow. Coming back down. And you're trying to, as you go down, we're not going to collapse through the underneath ribs. Keep those underneath ribs lifted. Serratus anterior, underneath that shoulder girdle is a shoulder stabilizer. And we're going to come on up from here. Let's come into from low oblique sit to high oblique sit. So we'll separate the legs, come from here, low oblique to high oblique. Low oblique to high oblique. Still 360 degrees of breath, front, side and back. Think of your base of support in your hand and in this underneath hip. Feel it. You can turn your head if you're feeling anything in the neck. Just do one more, and think of the humeral head rotating back into the socket. And then from here we're going to transition from high oblique sit to quadruped. Back to high oblique sit to quadruped. Make sure your base of stability, so coming back down onto that hip. You're lifting up, pressing your tibia into the floor, coming back into quadruped and back. You can lift this hand. We'll just do a few transitions. Good. Let's do all that on the other side. So, starting in our side lying, press into your shoulder, press into your hip, lift your waist. Pressing that hand, start with a few little rolls, opening up the back of the shoulder. Make sure that humeral head is in the socket of the shoulder. Press into the hip. And then transition from here. Now come on up. This is my weaker side, and you'll notice that my knee will want to lift. You've got to press down into that hip, into that knee. Don't let that knee lift. Good. The more that your base of support into that hip, you'll find it easier through the shoulder girdle as well to lift up. And from here, we're going to go from low oblique sit to high oblique sit. Lift the hand, low oblique, high oblique, low oblique. Breathing 360 degrees. Press the floor away. We're just going to do 10 on each side. Keeping that core. Your diaphragm and your pelvic floor staying in that same line. Keep breathing, don't hold the breath. And then from here, you're going to transition from high oblique to quadruped. From quadruped to high oblique. Press that tibia in now. Your tibia is your stabilizer. There's a rotation. See how this knee wanted to lift. I'm going to press it in. I have to create that stability and that connection. It's really good for the brain to have a lot of information into the floor. As you go back, Keep uprighting that spine through the crown of the head. Make sure the humeral head is back into the socket. Last one. And then from here, come on back. We'll go into some mermaid. Really feeling the outside of the hip. And then go into seated. And then over and do mermaid on the other side. Centrate that hand, make sure all fingers are touching the floor. Open the ribs, press into the sits bone.